We're so happy. Ever since we heard him in Washington, I've known I wanted you to hear the same thing that we heard. And so, Dave Sanderson, Man of the Hour.
Well, I'm always honored and humbled to speak for the Red Cross. I got to tell Billy Lee, I feel like I'm at home here. This is a very welcoming area, so thank you for having me tonight. And on January 15, 2009, as you know, another tragedy really could have happened in New York City. Instead, a miracle occurred. There were 155 people on U.S. Airways Flight 1549, and I was just one of those that night who were blessed. For the next 10 minutes, I want to share with you a little bit about my experience, but what I believe where the Red Cross added to the value and the outcome of that day, because candidly, as you may have heard some of the interviews, and I've done a lot of interviews, Captain Sullenberger's done a lot more than I have, that he and Skiles got everybody down, and the passengers and crew got everybody out, but the real heroes that day were the first responders, and one of the first responders was the American Red Cross. Now I want you to think about something as I speak for the next 10 minutes. The time that plane took off from LaGuardia and the time that plane crashed in the river, the time I got out to the exit door was 10 minutes. That's how fast this whole thing happened. And I wasn't even supposed to be on this flight. I was scheduled to be on the 5 o'clock flight. But I was working that day in Brooklyn at a client's office. And that day we were actually checking out warehouses. I don't know if anybody here has ever been to warehouses, but they open up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, so we started at 5 o'clock that morning. And we got done at 10:30, so I travel 100,000 miles a year, what I do. So I have a little game that I play, is how fast can I get home to my wife and 4 kids. So I called the travel agent, and she put me on flight 1549. I gave up a first class seat at 5 o'clock for seat 15A, which is 4 rows behind the left wing. I wasn't interested to be on that flight. But it wasn't anything unusual that day. I mean, yeah, it was cold in New York, it's 11 degrees, but you're in the middle of winter in New York, right? So no big deal. And we sat on the runway for a few minutes. As you understand, if you ever flown out of New York, right, it backs up a little bit. But it was less than a minute later when I heard the explosion. And it was a loud explosion. I've never heard anything like that on a plane. And when I heard the explosion, I actually looked up because I was reading a magazine, because I didn't pay attention to the flight crew. I didn't read the brochure. I didn't know I didn't do anything. But I looked out, I saw the fire coming out underneath the left wing. So I knew that something was wrong, but I think one of God's graces, the first place where I think God interacted in this was that, as you know now, the same thing happened on the right side of the plane. And no one talked in that plane. What'd you hear? What'd you hear? There was no panic on that plane. I think that was the first place where God intervened to keep everybody calm. And you may have heard a lot of story. I want to get more to the Red Cross story, but the first time I thought there was some danger is when I looked down and I saw people's faces, and that's when Captain Sullenberger glided that plane over that bridge. And if you ever have the opportunity to talk to Captain Sullenberger like I have, get him behind stage, say what really happened, he'll tell you everybody thinks the real hero thing was landing it, and yeah, that was important. But the big thing was him gliding that plane over that bridge, because he was headed straight for that bridge. And just think of what would happen if you were crashing that bridge. Not only us not making it, but now you have an internal terrorist attack in New York City again. So he'll tell you the real trick was keeping that speed up, gliding that thing over. And he just only said 3 words. He said, brace for impact, and that's when you knew that it wasn't going to probably be a very good outcome. And I did 2 things when he said that. First thing I did is I prayed. And I prayed for whoever that captain was to get me down as safe as he possibly could. Second thing I prayed for is the last guy I talked to call my wife, tell her I love her. The third thing I did is I prayed to Jesus to forgive my sins, because I didn't want anything between us. I wanted a clear path. At that point, you think you're coming back. And at that point, I reached down and got my wallet from my coat, because I don't carry my wallet. Because if I wanted someone at least to be able to claim my body and know who I was. Less than 60 seconds later, we crashed. And it was a hard crash. He landed 155 miles an hour, but when we crashed, as you know, he landed perfectly. And I looked up, and I braced, and I went all the way back up, and people asked me, how did people get on those wings so quickly? I'll tell you how people got on the wings so quickly. When that thing crashed, all the seats collapsed. When all the seats collapsed, people started walking down the sides on the seats instead of down the aisles. So people got out of those wings in 2 minutes. Me, I didn't. I went out to the middle aisle. And I just waited for a second, and what my mother, everybody's been through a near-death experience. Your life starts passing in front of you pretty quick. And my mother was in my brain. My mother passed away in 1997. Well, ever since I was a little kid, she taught me one thing. She said, "You do the right thing, God will take care of you." So I heard my mother talk in my brain now. So I just waited for a couple seconds to wait to make sure anybody from the back was out, because I wanted to make sure that if there's anybody needed help, they could get help. I was the last guy out in the back of the plane. I got to the right wing. I never got out of the wing. I held onto the door and held onto the lifeboat. And the reason I did that is because, if anybody knows anything about the Hudson River, that plane went down that river in less than 24 minutes, over half a mile. So the water was taking that lifeboat from the right side of the plane. I went out 10F, in and out. So if people were sitting on the sides of that lifeboat, they were afraid they were going to fall in. So I basically had the opportunity, I was holding on to the plane, holding on to the lifeboat, so people didn't fall off. But then there was this lady in the middle of the wing. And I looked down the wing, and it was an amazing sight. And it's, like I said, Sullenberger's right. The real heroes of the day were the first responders, and the first of the first responders was the Negro Waterway. So they were there in less than 2 minutes. This thing happened in Dallas, Orlando, anyplace else, you don't get the same outcome. But there was this lady standing in the middle of the wing, and she had a baby. You may have heard this story. And I saw her, and I got a lot of credit for this, and I should have gotten credit, because I think God intervened at that point. All I did was wake her up, because you can imagine a mother with a baby, a 3-month-old baby, by herself, standing in the middle of a wing, not knowing what to do. She's scared. All I did was wake her up. I yelled, "Throw the baby, throw the baby." I'm a guy, right? Get rid of the baby, let's go, let's move. But God put a lady in the front of that lifeboat by the name of Valerie Collins from Knoxville, Tennessee. This happened to be a mother of 3. And she looked up at her and she said, "Give me the baby." And Tess, the lady, gave her the baby. And all of a sudden, things started happening. Because my thought process at that point was, she can't get on that lifeboat with that baby, because you got to remember, it's 36-degree water. There's jet fuel all over the place. She slips into that water, that current. But then the business side of me started coming in. It's like, if she doesn't move, no one can walk down the swing. So she had to move. And God gave her enough strength to give her baby up at a time where she was scared out of her mind.